first episode of Your Business with Accent Nominees. We've been taking you through insights, as to the correlation between the law and your business, and today we'll be looking at customer protection policy. Now, for me, this topic is quite important because, let's face it, in these times that we live, right, business owners and businesses in general, they are tempted to want to, should I say, put the lives of people or the well-being or the satisfaction of customers, underneath their profit. What am I trying to say? I mean, they tend to put the profit as the major thing, at the expense of the satisfaction of customers, at the expense of the satisfaction, of customers, consumers, just their personal well-being. Because now one occurrence comes to my mind, right, and this happened about 5 years ago, right? So this person I'm talking about is late now. He's a gospel musician. He passed on because he actually took fake drugs. I mean, expired drugs, actually. So now, this is just more or less like a simple scenario to just kickstart this conversation, right? So now, we're looking at customer protection policy. And this topic for me, like I said, is quite important because if you are into business, if you are familiar with business, you know that there are a plethora of quotes on customer relationship, customer, consumer, all of those things. Because let's face it, in the first instance, when you set out to do business, yes, we all want to make profit. Of course, we're talking about business, not NGO or any of those things. You want to make profit. You want to make profit. But then, let's not forget that the customer is the number one priority when it comes to doing business. It doesn't matter how you feel about it. It doesn't matter how I feel about it. It's the truth, because you start out to serve people, right, with your product or with your service, right? After that, that's when profit. You cannot talk about profit or what you gain from that business, because at the point where we are tempted, look at the economy currently as it is. People want to make money from their businesses. There's inflation and all of those things. So there's that temptation. It can actually come. Where you're like, but this product's already almost getting expired. Let us push it out, at the expense of the life of that person that might take that product. If it's something you can consume, that might take that product and end up somewhere else. We've had occurrences where people actually take products that are not quality enough, products that are about to expire or have even expired, and then it causes pain or whatever it causes to their life, which may lead to death in some instance. So now, these are some of the things we're looking at today, right? So now, like I said, the importance of customer to business. There are plethora of quotes like customer is king, customer is always right. All of those quotes, customer service. There was even one that, let me paraphrase though. When you fail to tend to your customer, then that customer becomes, I don't know, I think your competitor will take that role from you and take care of that customer and take that customer away from you. So now, the customer is the main should I say, stakeholder. Of course, there are others, but it's a serious stakeholder when it comes to business. And when we fail to serve them the right way, when we fail to give them our best, then we are, I don't know, that profit you're trying to make, at the end of the day, you might not even make it, because there are laws that actually protect these customers, right? So this is how it goes. For me, it's on the flip side. The moment you commit yourself to giving the best to your customer, then you will get profits, right? You will definitely get profit. You get huge returns. But when you choose that, you feel like things are getting out in the country and you just want to make profit at all costs, even at the expense of the life of your customer, then the long arm of the law will definitely get at you, and then you also miss out on the profits because you'll be paying fines upon fines. So that's just that on that, right? So now, the importance of customer is not unknown to the legislative body in Nigeria, that is the lawmaking body in Nigeria. So they've made laws, they've put in place laws, to help protect the customer, to help ensure that the lives of customers, the satisfaction of customers are intact, to ensure that customers get value for the money they expend, towards your business. So now it's very important for us to understand this, right? So now, there are reasons. Okay, let me just go through. So the lawmaking body in Nigeria is not unaware of this fact, as customer protection laws have been enacted to protect and promote consumer interest by safeguarding buyers of goods from unsafe products. So basically, right? These laws are in place to protect customers from, purchasing products that could harm them. So this is just what this is about, right? So now further reasons why laws have been made: to ensure that providers of goods and services observe all laws regarding quality and safety standard. I just told you about the situation of the music minister that passed on because he took expired drugs. So now these people will definitely try their best, but then there's only an extent to where they can go, because some people are actually victims to this do not even take action afterwards. But then it's a responsibility for us as business people, people coming into business, to supply people with services or products that we need to be responsible to the people who are serving. They come first before profits. Now it's very important for us to know that. And now to also ensure restitution and compensation for buyers of defective goods and services. So a lot of time we see that we buy goods that do not really what you ordered versus what you got, right? So most of the time when things like this happen, so the laws that have been made to actually protect you in situations like this, right? To ensure that you are paid back if you need to be refunded, all of those things. Those things are in the law. You need to know your rights, right? So these laws have actually provided you some rights that we'll be looking at very much later from now. Now, to ensure that customers get value for money spent, like I already mentioned, to ensure that customers have accurate information. Now, a customer that is coming to you to get something, the law is trying to ensure that you give the customer all the details the customer needs to make the right decision. So when you are ordering certain decision, probably because you feel like the customer may not buy that thing from you, you're trying to secure your own profit at the expense of what the customer would want to buy, if the customer has access to all the necessary details that pertain to that product. I'm using product as an example here, right? So now it's to ensure that customers have accurate information to the product they're trying to to buy, or the services they're trying to to get from your business, from your company. Now, to promote fair competition. Now, when we talk about customer protection, like I said, there are laws that have been put in place, but then one main law, right? There's a primary law. Of course, there are other laws. Main guy, which is the law, that is the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Act 2018. Now, of course, prior to this law, there have been other laws that have been repealed and updated but this is what we have. This is the latest law that we currently have. So that's the FCCPA. So now this FCCPA, just like the things we've been discussing over time a few minutes ago, they try to ensure that customers are safe, right? So this act, or this law, has provided for certain rights of consumers, of customers. So they provided the right that you as a consumer, myself as a consumer as well, the right I enjoy, by virtue of just being a customer or a consumer. One is the right to cancel advance reservation, booking, or order. So, of course, you can see all these rights are, favoring the consumers. Of course, in reasonable terms. It's not something an ordinary person can say and say this is not reasonable. No, right? You came into markets, you came into business to serve us, your consumer. So we also have rights, right? We have rights that we enjoy, and one of it is the right to cancel advance reservation, booking, or order. So where does it fit? Because you can't book something now and then for some reason you won't have to be able to use it again. Within reasonable time you contact them and they tell you that no, you can. Of course, there are laws, there are contractual terms that would be imputed on some level, but generally you are entitled to cancel your order once it is reasonable. Now, right to choose or examine goods. So when I was looking at this, one thing comes to mind, and one thing still comes to mind, and that is, in a local market, you see a random Yoruba woman, for example, wants to buy gari. She dips her hand in the gari and tastes, all of those things. And even people that sell, right, they tend to even say, you can come ahead and taste, because I don't know if you've been to any like trade fair. I was at one recently, and one thing I realized, they were even telling us to come and taste this kuli kuli. They packaged it in a well packaged form, and then they were just giving us a taste so we can buy, right? So this is one of the things we enjoy as consumers, as buyers, as customers to businesses, right? Right to return goods. right to return goods when it doesn't meet your taste, of course, when it doesn't meet your taste, right to return goods, right to fair dealings, right to safe good and quality goods and services. This cannot be overemphasized, to be very honest. This cannot be overemphasized, because what is the essence of purchasing something that ends up harming you? And so right to safe good and quality services, and this is why the law has been put in place to keep us safe, you watching and myself, right? So now it is also worthy of note that this act has gone ahead to establish a body, should I say a commission, that enforces its provision. So it's a law, the FCCP is a law with numerous provisions, protecting consumers and customers, right? So in order to enforce all of these provisions, it has also, established by itself a commission, which is the FCCPC, the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, right? So the essence of this body is to implement the provisions of the Act. So let's bring it down to more understandable terms. So we have the legislative body in Nigeria, right, in Abuja, but we also have the executive. So the legislative arm, the parliament, they make laws, right? They make laws. The executive, they enact and they implement it. So this is also brought to this one. We talked about the FCCPA, which is a law, right, which is now implemented by the FCCPC. So that's how it works. So basically now the duties of the FCCPC is to ensure that the provisions of the law, are implemented. Right, so let's quickly look at some of the things. So let me mention this. The FCCPC it's the top agency when it comes to consumer protection, customer protection, right? It's the top. Of course, there are others, but then it's the top agency. Just like we said, the FCCPA, what is the top law, is the primary, is the governing law, whereas there are also others, right? So that's the way it works. So now the Commission protects the interest and welfare of consumers by providing consumers with a wider variety of goods and services, so that they're able to pick. Right, they're able to pick. They're not restricted to one. There's no one person dominating the whole thing. There's this person here, there's this other person here, there's this other brand here. You can actually approach, to meet your own needs. Right. So one thing. Let's even look at some of the things they do. So they prevent the circulation of goods and services which constitute public hazard. So looking at fake drugs or expired drugs still in the market, all of those things, they look into all of those things. That is their main duty. Right, but then they are also limited, because there's an extent to which they can go. So this is a call to responsibility for business people, like myself, and yourself as well. So this is a call to responsibility to, this for me, this is like ethics, business ethics. You can't put out something, you can't manage ingredients and push it out to the public. Someone is going to take that thing, and it could either harm someone or do something, it could harm a consumer, it could harm a customer. So if you are doing this at the expense of getting reward, getting profits, then this is actually very wrong. Because on the flip side, where you commit yourself to providing quality services and products to your customers, you will definitely get returns. Definitely. So rather than put yourself in a place where you put the lives of your customers, or you don't really pay attention to the satisfaction of your customers at the expense of you getting profit. Now this is actually very, very terrible, right? So this is a call to responsibility. This, in a way, it reduces the burden on the FCCPC in trying to look at, this good is just out. Are they meeting up to the standard? All of those things. Or by ourselves, business people, let us by ourselves ensure that we the kind of goods we are putting out, the kind of services we are putting out to people are quality enough. So this is a call to responsibility. Now, the FCCPC, they prevent the circulation of goods and services which constitute public hazard. So their duty is to ensure that wrong goods that have expired, goods that do not meet certain standards are not out there. Right. So now they also compel manufacturers, suppliers, dealers, importers, also even up to retailers, right, to ensure that all standards are met in the kind of goods and services that are sold, that are manufactured, that are churned out. So they ensure that these goods are up to quality, all for the sake of the ultimate consumer. like I told you about the situation of the person that passed on because he actually had malaria and typhoid, right? So which he had been, according to the news, he actually neglected it, right? And that's human, right? You can be like that. You can have things. It happened to me a few weeks ago. I refused. I didn't want to go to the hospital. I just wanted to like see how it goes and then how to just ease off. But then that was the same case with him. But what happened was that the moment he decided to, okay, let me even treat this thing, he got drugs from one of those pharmaceutical stores. He got the drugs, and unfortunately for him, the drugs were actually expired, and they got to discover that afterwards. And then that action which he took, and that inaction on the part of the manufacturer, on the part of the retailer, sorry, in selling goods, selling drugs that already expired, cost him his life. As a matter of fact, his health deteriorated rapidly because of that drug he took. So this is a call to responsibility once again. This is not an academic exercise or something. This is a call to responsibility for each and every one of us. That in our various businesses, whatever we do, if it's even service, that let us ensure that we put our customers first. The whole thing with profit will come. For me, I liken this to Matthew 6:33 for Christians out there. Right? Seek ye first the kingdom of God and then all other things. So for me, it's like seek ye first the satisfaction of your customers, of your consumers. Ensure that they are well taken care of. Ensure that your products are quality enough. Then profit will come. They will come ultimately, right? So that is that. So now speaking about manufacturers up to the retailers, right? So the commission, they try to certify that all standards are met in their goods and services. They give public notice of any health hazard associated with any goods. So in the process of them going through the goods, examining goods, if they see that this is going to be hazardous to the public, they make the announcement immediately. Of course, they also ensure that the goods are not put out. So now this is very important. Now they also seal up any premises on reasonable suspicion that such premises contain or are being used to produce or disseminate goods of lower quality. So where the goods of lower quality, the storehouse, they seal it up. That's what they do. Right? So now, the whole essence of what we've been talking about so far, like I said, and I'll keep saying, it's a call to responsibility for business people. For people that run stores or that produce things or that provide services. That it's our duties, right, to put customers first. Right. I understand the whole climate, the economic climate, currently inflation upon inflation and all those things. Things are happening. And we could be tempted, we're humans, we could be tempted, after all, we've produced quality. This one, the ingredient is not enough and that's already finished. Instead of, we can't go out to get, let's manage it. No, let's not manage it. Because someone could actually take that and it could lead to the life, to loss of life of that person. So it's a call to responsibility, myself and yourself as well. Whatever business you run. Because let's even face it, you that you run a business, do you know you're also a consumer? Because you also feed on other people's products. So it's more or less like a cycle. So now it's a call to responsibility once again for us to ensure that the kind of products and services we bring out there is that which doesn't harm consumers, which doesn't harm customers. We would get the benefits at the end of the day. So now, like I said, I think I mentioned earlier, there are laws. So the legislature they've made laws that tend to promote the protection of customers, right? And then if the FCCP is not alone in this journey. We have the NAFDAC, that is also contributing its quota to ensuring that quality goods are put out there in terms of foods, in terms of drugs. We have the Standard Organization of Nigeria, the SON, also ensuring that quality goods and services are pushed out for people. Right. So like I said, it's a cycle. You as a producer, as a producer of goods and services, you also feed on other goods and services. So it's a call that this is a cycle. It's a call for us to actually take on the responsibility of ensuring that we pay attention to detail. And the only funny thing is that a lot of business, they give it as a value that they actually pay attention to detail. When you pay attention to detail, you ensure that the ingredient, the supplement that you put together to produce certain goods and services, right? Or certain goods, sorry. are at par. They are quality enough. They do not endanger the life of one person. Don't say that, but we've made quality, we've made a lot of quality, that this one, who will it harm? No. So it's a call to responsibility, right? So that's why these laws have been put in place alongside other laws as well, to all come together to ensure that consumers, you and myself, are safe, right? So that's it. All right. So like I said, failure to abide by these provisions not only negatively impact the lives of consumers and customers, but it also negatively impact the life of business people. Because at the end of the day, when your business is called, it is sealed, probably a fine is imposed, probably you are taken to court, the alter egos in the company, the directors maybe get to face jail terms or whatever it is, right? So all of this, we need to avoid all of this by doing the right thing, by putting our customers and consumers first. Thank you. This will be the end of today's, this week's presentation on the need to protect our customers and consumers. I hope you're able to take this and apply it practically, because lives are dependent on this. Thank you for listening, and I hope you do have a great day.